You are not stuck. You are undisciplined. If we want to compete in a global market as African entrepreneurs or African professionals, we have to become disciplined. We have to be honest about this fact with ourselves. We cannot make excuses for being undisciplined. And we cannot be saying that we are stuck when the reason is that we are undisciplined. Sometimes we're stuck not growing. Sometimes we're stuck not expanding. Sometimes we're just stuck in a place of our business. We're not getting the promotion. We're not expanding markets. Our customer base is not growing. Our products are not getting to more people. And we ask ourselves and we say, but we are stuck. But have we actually analyzed that whole situation of being stuck and checked on our discipline? How disciplined are we? Because if we want to play on a global stage, and I keep saying global, especially to us Africans, sometimes we think that, oh, but I'm doing this, my little business. I'm selling hair in Accra, Ghana, and I'm just on Facebook, or I'm just on TikTok, or I'm just on whatever social media it is, X, and it's not global. Guess what? If you are on social media and you have posted about your business at all, at any point in time, whether it's in direct reference, whether it's marketing, then you are playing globally. Because guess what? Social media is not really restricted to your area alone. It is global. It's a global stage. So if you want people that see the hair that you're selling online and they are in London, if you want people in London to see that thing that you're selling, then you need to be more aware. You need to be disciplined. Because no matter what it is that you're growing, it requires discipline. It requires discipline in your thinking. So which means you cannot have a victim mentality all the time. You cannot be waiting to be motivated all the time. You cannot always make an emotional decision. And it's one thing to be empathetic when making decisions, but it's another thing to just be overly emotional when making those decisions. Another thing that you really have to consider is discipline in your execution. It's that thing of starting and finishing. Do you know that one of the reasons that people think that some Africans are scammers and they try to ring all of us into the same box is because we don't finish what we start? And a lot of us Africans are actually guilty of that. And it could be because of society. It could be because we don't have the money to finish. Sometimes we overestimate to our clients what we can actually do. And then we don't finish. Guess what? If I was to recommend you to somebody else, what I'm going to say is you don't know how to finish. So no matter what it is that you are doing, whether you are an interior designer, whether you are in the business of makeup, whether you are in the business of selling stuff, even if you're an employee, and I'm not going to say the word just an employee, but even if you work for someone, you have to always start and finish your projects. It is so important. And then you have to measure what you're doing, and then you also have to track what you're doing. Because if you're not measuring it, how do you know if you're doing it properly? How do you know if you're succeeding in it? If you're not tracking it, how will you know when you get to the end? How will you know if you got there in a timely fashion? So there should be discipline in your thinking. There should be discipline in your execution. And by all means, you should have discipline in your structure. And what I mean by that is, if the kind of business you're doing needs contracts, please have contracts. And you know what? You don't need a lawyer these days. And I know I'm a lawyer and saying this, but some of these contracts are available online. In fact, ChatGPT and all those open AI platforms can help you with basic contracts. Obviously, if you're doing a bigger deal and it's more sophisticated and more intricate, I would really advise that you contact a lawyer to help you, even if it's to help you review it, so that you don't enter bad contracts. Because if you're talking about, if you're selling something and somebody from New York contacts you, and they're telling you deliver, and then they will pay. By word of mouth, you never met this person. And maybe they are part of a company. Maybe it's even an institution asking you to do the stuff. You will need contracts in place, especially if the payment has to come in tranches. Even if you're shipping something overseas, you are loading a container for someone, you should have a contract to know when you get paid, when the person is going to get it, all of that stuff. Contracts are very important. Another thing about structure are your documents. I cannot say this enough. People don't value documentation. They want to do things by word of mouth, and then it becomes he said, she said, he said, and then it's who said what. I like to put things in writing. Like part of my business, when I run my business, you find that I type a lot. I type a lot of things. Even if it's a message, I want to type it. If it's an email, I want to send it. And it's not because I like typing or I love typing, but it's because I want to keep track of what is actually happening in all those places. What is the decision being made? Even if it's a spur of a moment, you want to have that record so you can reference it later. Discipline it can be as little as entering your daily sales, and it can be as big as following up that contract, those contractors, those subcontractors, and making sure they do every part of the job. It can be as little as showing up for work every day, and it can be as big as constantly putting yourself out there to go the extra mile for that job, to go the extra mile for that business. But if you say that you are stuck, ask yourself what it is you are not disciplined in doing right now. This week, get unstuck. This week, commit to being more disciplined in everything you do. Even if it's in combing your hair, making sure you have powder going out of your house. Commit to being more disciplined, because the world does not reward you for your potential. Okay, if you go to the graveyard, you'll find a lot of potentials that were never realized. Nobody rewards you for your potential, unless you've done stuff before that they know, and they know that you can deliver, you see. So it's your ability to deliver, your ability to actually get the job done that gets rewarded, and it creates a track record. That way, the next time you talk about a potential, they already know you can deliver. So that track record you have then plays into protecting the next potential thing that you have going for you. So don't ruin your track record with being undisciplined and not delivering. You may be stuck right now because you were undisciplined in the past. So get unstuck. Now, I just want to say this and add this. I don't want you to think that I'm minimizing other things that make people get stuck, because a lot of the other reasons are there. But for today, we are talking about being disciplined, and discipline being the reason why you are stuck. So, I'm going to say this again. You, my dear, are not stuck. You are undisciplined. And if you want to play on the global stage, which we are all constantly playing on, whether you like it or not, then you have to become disciplined today. Because personally, I work with leaders and entrepreneurs who want to grow themselves as global leaders and to grow their discipline, their ability to be disciplined. All right, this has been Lovelyn Bassie, and go out there this week and be more disciplined so you can get unstuck. Bye.